podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Okay, Daniel, United managed to not blow a lead, which was quite impressive for once, even when bringing Harry Maguire on.
Yes, I thought that actually the way they saw that out wasn't bad.
No?
They had to defend the box more than I would have liked them to, but with a good side playing well, and they did defend the box pretty well, I would say.
Yeah, just the one, what was it, Tyrone Mings' header at the end, sort of almost got on it, but barely a chance for the last sort of 15 minutes. Even Harry managed to not fuck anything up, which was pretty good for him. So
I feel like Lindelof is obviously better without him. He played well today, and he's played well since he came into the team. I'm not sure he is capable of playing well enough for the cup final to be something we would want him to be playing in, but hopefully he should be adequate between now and then.
Yeah, unclear whether Varane will be back in time for that or not.
I thought we'd been told by Ten Hag that he was.
All right, hopefully.
But he would be. But then, if Lindelof has played every game until then,
yeah,
is he going to drop Varane? Is he going to bring Varane in having not played? Not sure.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's passable, isn't it? Lindelof and Shaw, they're both decent. I thought the problem on Thursday against Spurs was more the midfield not stopping Spurs from taking quite so many shots rather than the actual defenders. Just not existing, yeah.
So on that point, do you think that was why he played Zabitzer, not Anthony today?
Yeah, might have been, yeah. Just a bit more tight in midfield. Give Casemiro a bit of help. I mean, he was much better today, Casemiro, and I wonder whether just having that extra support and him not having to cover every blade of grass is helpful for him.
I think also he's a bit old now. It takes him longer to get back into the swing of things. We've seen this a few times, but this time it took him slightly longer, and he had been complete arse since coming back. But he obviously hasn't forgotten to play football in that period. And I agree, he was much better today. The passing was back. He was actually contributing going forward as well and seemed to be enjoying himself more. Felt like the first game or two, he was almost scared of getting sent off again.
Well, we wouldn't be surprised. I mean, he managed to get himself sent off for a couple of not the worst tackles / tickle around the face you've ever seen. So he was probably alone.
But we've seen people getting away with similar and worse.
Yeah. Anyway,
so
much
for him
better
to get it twice. Yes.
And overall, I thought United. I mean, especially the first half. Decent, right? Pretty fluent. It's obviously more of a box midfield, not really any width as such, but allowed United to have quite a bit of control against the Villa side that has barely conceded a goal since February, won 8 of their last 10. You know, this is a good Villa side against Unai Emery coach side, and we obviously know a lot about him and just how well they defend. They don't concede many goals. Emery size, Villa don't concede many goals. It was always going to be tight. The cliche is true that the points count more than the performances right now, and that was enough. I mean, United probably only need 9 points from and probably less from the final 6 games. I mean, it's almost there, isn't it?
Sort of. I mean, I think it is 9 that they need, but Liverpool are on a streak and they do have easy games. And it's not beyond the realms of possibility. We will need to get 9 points. But if they can't make 9 points out of what there is, that would be an absolutely tremendous collapse. I mean, that said, I would take the FA Cup. I'd take beating City in the cup final over top 4 any day of the week. Wouldn't even have to think about that for a second. I want to play in the Champions League, but the chance to beat City at Wembley with City going for a treble, that doesn't come around very often. And neither does the absolute fucking humiliation of losing to them in that circumstance. Whereas I've seen a lot of Champions League qualifications And I'd do without that to beat City in the cup final.
Unfortunately, that's not a binary choice, and it's probably more likely we'll beat City in the cup final if we are actually playing well over the next few games.
I thought you were going to say, and it could all go wrong. We could lose City in the cup final and get picked top four by Liverpool.
Quite possible. I mean, that would be horrendous, wouldn't it? I mean, the best Liverpool could make is 71 points. So, and 71 points in most seasons would get you into the Champions League. It won't do this year, I don't think. I think we'll just about do it. And victory over Villa has pretty much seen off Villa. Spurs obviously losing again. I don't think they're the worry anymore. So it really is Liverpool. And that means United have to lose 3 of the next 6. I guess it could happen. Brighton's definitely a losable game next. Not many of the others.
It's not just lose because draws. They need. I mean, it looks like there are 2 games, a couple of games that you would definitely expect them to win. You expect them to beat Bournemouth.
Yeah.
And I can't remember. There's one other game. I can't remember who it is. You look at them and think they'll definitely win that one, and that'd be 6. So that you would then expect 3 more points to come from somewhere else. But yeah, it would be an effort to muck it up from here. But it's just that thing. Every time they've had the opportunity to put it almost beyond doubt, they fucked up, and Tottenham was the latest opportunity. If they beat Tottenham, then it would be very, very hard to mess it up from here, almost impossible. But it is still, there's just that lingering possibility. But they're playing all right. They're not scoring as many goals as they should, but they're playing okay.
That's right.
Malacia played much better today.
He was pretty unsure himself against Spurs, wasn't he? And he looked, a bit more confident today. I mean, I didn't create tons of chances. There was a good effort for, Marcus Rashford, first 15 minutes or so. Was it Casemiro hit one against the post? Forgetting now.
Bar, I think.
Bar, that's it, yeah.
Yeah, Casemiro hit the bar. Anthony had a bit of a chance in the second half. But they played some nice football. There was some good situations there. And the goal, I thought, was a really good finish. Obviously, Martinez should have done better with it. But the presence of mind to be able to swivel and to get enough lift on it to get it to hit the defender and to whip it like that made it really difficult for the keeper to save. Thought it wasn't as easy a finish as it looked.
Mm-hmm.
And that guy is a fucking footballer.
What, Emi Martinez? Bruno Fernandes?
No, he's a fucking something else.
He certainly is. Yes. No, he really is a footballer, and he's coming to his own, hasn't he? Last few weeks, I thought he was decent against Spurs.
He's been playing well.
Great before that, and good today. Yeah,
he's had a brilliant season, and he is improving though. He's still improving, and is that I don't agree that Bruno doesn't work on the right. I don't like him there because I think you want him in the middle, involved in the play more. But if you play him on the right, there will be occasions where he'll do good stuff because he's not someone who the game tends to pass by, and he will always try to do good stuff. So in the course of 90 minutes, if Bruno Fernandes is playing on the right wing, he will probably do some good stuff because he's a good player. So you can get away with it, as we got away with it today. I think the sacrifice, partly to give Anthony a rest, because he has played almost all the games recently, although doesn't seem to complete them very often. But yeah, I think that just to have an extra man in that midfield, and then if you've got that extra man in midfield, then you've still got creativity from Casemiro and Zabis, so they're not just runners. Mm-hmm. Plus, you've got Sancho, and then you've got Rashford and Bruno. You would expect to be able to get the ball into the goal somehow.
Yeah, and it meant United didn't get overrun in central midfield. They always had an extra man in there, and I think that was pretty important given what had happened on Thursday night in the second half. And Bruno creates chances from anywhere. It's definitely not where he's going to create the most chances from the right, but he does. I mean, I was just looking, is it expected assists, whether you think that's a genuine stat or not, is higher than Kevin De Bruyne's. He's got half the number of assists. I mean, as a really reductive point, United really need a goal scorer.
Yeah, if he had a striker, his numbers would be absolutely stratospheric.
They would.
And rightly so. He makes goals happen in a way that not very many footballers I've seen have. I mean, he's almost, in some ways, the most I haven't really thought about this before. The person I've most obviously compared him to maybe is Frank Lampard. And they're not similar necessarily in the way they do it, but the ability to make goals happen under pressure regularly whilst running about a lot is in some ways quite similar. I mean, I think he's a bit of a defter, smoother technician than Lampard, but he's obviously not now delivering the goals that Lampard is because he's got to do more other stuff. But the idea that there are still people that think that Ten Hag would prefer to get rid of him and he's some kind of liability, and I do see this on the internet more than I would think it would be possible, is just some of the maddest shit in the world. And if we just pause for a moment to consider how mad the world is, and I mean it, that the sentient beings are able to watch United, and this isn't not think Bruno could do this better or that person could do that better, but not see an incredibly well-rounded, intelligent, gifted footballer with leadership and attitude and bronco and fuck you, and not think this guy is just an absolutely tremendous piece of work is absolutely beyond me that anyone would think that. And also just the fact that he does do a lot of whining on the pitch, but actually he seems like quite a sound bloke, I think. And he pisses off opposition fans. I mean, really, this is a very significant package of all the things almost that I want a United footballers to be. His haircut is shit though.
He's the full package for sure. But if you interrogate the internet,
he has a full package.
I'm
prepared to believe that. I like to think that is true.
I've not consulted Miss Fernandez on that particular subject. He's no Falcao though. I am pretty sure of that.
As if he's like strutting about that changing room, brandishing it like a lightsaber, then I have no problem with that. And that
awesome.
Yeah, I'm now going to assume that that's the case.
Great. If you consult the internet, people will have an opinion on whatever mad shit you can possibly think of. Just if you can imagine it, there's some bloke out there with that opinion, especially when it comes to football. So I take all of that with a pinch of salt, but clearly very important to United. Ten Hag has said so a lot. He's a big fan.
He picks him in every game.
Picks him in every game. He's United.
He plays in every game.
Yeah. So the other players in the team, I thought Jadon Sancho did all right actually this time out. I mean, he's still not like the really direct, proactive footballer I guess we'd like to see, where he really makes things happen. He's still around the edges of all of that, but some signs of him being all right for 80 minutes or so. Eriksen did his usual hour of very good stuff and then started to fade. It's
also Eriksen's hair though. Can we just do a brief moment on that? Like he's at that point where he's got like the hole in the middle of the head, but he's still going to the barber and asking for a haircut that isn't just like cut it all the same length. Like he's actually going and having a haircut that is now arranged around this sort of pond in the middle of his head. But on Sancho, the thing about him, I think, is that, I mean, we couldn't get rid of him even if we wanted to because of the wages he's on, I imagine.
Yeah.
But if we have him around, he'll do good stuff. We just don't know when he's going to do it. And he'll do it. Sometimes it'll be when you want it, and other times you'll want something and it won't happen. And we're never going to know. He's not someone at the moment we can trust in particularly high pressurized environment. And I agree with what you said that sometimes he gets the ball in the box and he wants to take it one more, and it feels like it's not that it feels a bit more like indecision, that he thinks because he's so good on tight spaces, it feels like he thinks he can beat one more man, and if he does, then he'll have a perfect shooting lane. Whereas sometimes you've just got to get it away, you've just got to get it hit and then take it from there. But yeah, there's just a lack of conviction in a lot of what he does. But he's got so much talent that he can still do stuff sometimes despite it. And two tremendous snot rockets when he got subbed. So yeah. Claire would have been proud.
No, I was really focusing on, but yeah. It'll be an interesting
one. Where it's due. He's a complete player.
Yeah, that's right.
Interested in all parts of the package.
You want goals, assists, and a big load of phlegm on the Old Trafford turf, right? I mean, look, it's touch and go whether he would be in your first 11 for the cup final.
Go.
So,
for the cup final. I thought you were going to say in general. And that is, it's him or Martial, isn't it? And in some ways, it's the same thing. The reason why I would want them or wouldn't want them, the reasons are very similar. They feel like I don't know if they're similar personalities, but the aspects of their personality that mean they're not the footballer that they should be seem not dissimilar in some ways.
Right.
I mean, Garnacho is around for the cup final now.
Yeah, when he's not off producing sprogs. He's not going to the Under-20 World Cup. I didn't realise United had a choice on that one. I assumed it was
me neither.
FIFA mandate, but apparently not a underage or age group tournaments.
So... When it's during the season. I mean, I totally understood, I guess, why he wanted to play for Argentina, if as we were told he did. And it actually seemed kind of weird that under 20 level, you couldn't just say, you know what, fuck it, fly back to the FA Cup final. You've got a place in the squad. You might lose your place in the team, whatever. You have to miss a game. But it didn't feel like that because ordinarily you kind of want him to play in that, I think, because he hasn't played so much this season that it will be a problem for him to play through the summer. And just that kind of thing is probably good for his development and good for his confidence because the chances are he'd go and be good. But he's someone who it sort of feels might become quite annoying at some point.
We'll see. He signed a new contract, so we got him for another 5 years, which is good. I don't know how large the wages are there and whether I presume it is a pretty large bump over his youth team wages, but he has, to some extent, earned that new contract.
He's totally earned it. Yeah. He's affected the outcome of games that United have won, that they would not have won without him, and he's done it in very little time and in great style. We don't know. You don't know how it's going to go from here because the mental side is so important, and we don't know that enough about him. But he has composure at high speed and under high pressure, so he looks like he's someone who's going to be a good player. But yeah, I mean, who knows if that will be the case or if it will always be for United. But definitely, the signs of the kind of player he might be are really good.
Yeah, and I mean it's. Important that he signed that new contract. Otherwise, there'd be a lot of murmurs about him leaving. Obviously, we'll see if he gets really good. That may well be on the cards anyway, but he'll be around for a while. Yeah, he's going to need some game time before that cup final. I don't think he was on the bench today.
I mean, in the cup final, with that space behind John Stones, when John Stones goes wandering into midfield, particularly late doors, that is something that you would think he is quite well placed to exploit. And one thing that is good about what we're seeing recently is Big Wout is conspicuous by his absence.
Yeah.
It's a while since after starting every game. I mean, it's funny like that with Ten Hag, isn't it? That he just blows hot and cold on players. We didn't see McT for ages. Now Fred never plays.
Yeah, he got 15 minutes today, which wasn't too chaotic. It was an absolute disaster class against Spurs, wasn't it? It just came on, gave the ball away pretty much every touch. He seemed to have been frozen out for
him being on that corner at the end. Yeah. Oh man, it wasn't as bad as when he was on that free kick at City when Bruno in that League Cup game where Bruno just signed but didn't play and they get a free kick, but it's so perfect for Mata, just outside the box because any further you feel like his little legs can't kick it far enough to get to the goal, but it was just like really around the edge of the box in perfect position for Mata. And they let Fred have it because he'd been on absolute flames in training or something. It's just, it's not Powell for Mata, but it's just one of those little decisions that you see them do it and you think, what on earth are you doing? Also, like Bruno winning the toss against Villarreal, asking to take penalties second. Also just
bonkers.
Beyond belief that you would take that decision at that time.
Yeah, well, sometimes you get information.
I forgot about that grudge. It's always good to remember a grudge. Oh, there we go. Maybe this could be a new spot. Grudge of the week.
I can't remember whether we talked about it, but Cup semi-final penalties where Dave, every single one, inspected his water bottle, which had instructions. Not quite sure what it said, but dive out of the way appeared to be what the
diving out of the way of them. Oh, because the thing is like some of the penalties, like against Villarreal, obviously they scored whatever it was it 12 penalties or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But there was only one that it felt like he could have stopped, really, or should have stopped, and yet the sense that someone else might have somehow found a way of stopping more. But players are just becoming much better at taking penalties. We're seeing way more shootouts that are going past 5. We're not seeing so many of United Sunderland. Was it 2-1 in the League Cup that time?
Yeah, particularly special that one was. Yeah,
and even Fletcher's one that went in wasn't good, but that did actually save us losing that competition to City at Wembley. So it wasn't bad, I don't think, in the long run. But yeah, players are getting good at penalties now. And to Lindelof's credit, I knew he was going to score. And I said to the mate next to me, I'm not remotely nervous that he will miss this. And they did take generally some quite good penalties. So,
yeah. Do you think, talking of penalties, do you think Rashford should have had one for the
what? It's just
hefty shove in his back?
It is so nuts that. And I say like that with a caveat. The caveat that I always make is that a penalty is too harsh a punishment for almost every single offence you see on a football pitch for which a penalty is awarded. And this is the problem, much more so than the decision-making process. Every decision is framed with so much importance because roughly, I think, 80% of penalties are scored.
Right about.
So what you're doing is you're awarding someone a goal, and you're sitting there stopping the game backwards, forwards, looking, is it this, is it that? And the reason is because a penalty is a harsh punishment. And like a punishment, like you shouldn't get an 80% chance of a goal for that Rashford situation. It should be a free kick inside the box, direct, and any offence that takes away a goal-scoring opportunity outside the box should be a penalty. Anywhere on the pitch, goal-scoring opportunity, penalty. That's just what I think. But the Rashford one, so in my laws, that would not be a penalty. But in the laws of association football, as exists today, for the referee and then some other people to look at that and say that isn't a penalty is absolutely mind-boggling that it's not a clear and obvious error and a penalty. Because the problem now also with the clear and obvious error, aside from what I said a few weeks ago about adding an extra layer of subjectivity to something that's already subjective as to whether what constitutes a penalty in the first place, then do we overturn what the referee's done because it's clear and obvious? So different people, an extra layer of subjectivity. But the thing about it now, I think, is that you have referees thinking, well, I'm not going to deploy the nuclear weapon. I'm not going to give a penalty here because I've got VAR to rely on. And now, if it's a penalty, VAR will just say it's a penalty, and then I give a penalty.
Yeah, but they won't.
VAR won't always give them.
and the bar for turning over is really high. So yes, I mean I think we saw that in Test cricket as well. Like and it works much better in Test cricket. But umpires more willing to go to the TV umpire than they might otherwise have been, and I'm sure that's true in football. And the referees are like so. But
easier because we're dealing. I mean, we should be dealing in matters of fact in football too. Some of the time, cricket's easy because you're dealing in matters of fact. So it's much easier for an umpire to say, "Do you know what? I'm not going to make a positive decision here. I'm going to say not out."
Yeah. And
then if it's miles out, then the tech will save me. And if it isn't, then it doesn't really matter. Umpire's call. It's a legitimate error for the umpire to make because it's that. But we're still dealing with matters of fact. Whereas in football, you can see something back, and one referee could think it was a penalty, and another one might not.
Mm-hmm.
But that one today, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, someone who couldn't see could see that was a penalty. I mean, I don't know.
Well, a couple of minutes later, I can't remember which Villa player it was, or United player it was. Sorry, shoved a Villa player over, maybe Malacia. And the free kick was given. I was like, hang on a minute. Well, what's the difference here? But yeah, I mean, back to the clear and obvious. It seems clear and obvious to me that what a VAR should be is a little voice inside the referee's head saying, hang on a minute, mate, you've made a rick here. Go look at it again. And the decision still stays with the referee, but he gets a second go at it by going to look at the monitor if it's a close call. But they don't really do that, and that's why you get a situation like this, which seemed fairly obvious, but not obvious enough.
Yeah, it just didn't. It just looked like a penalty. It's just like it's just hard to see how you could fathom that wasn't a penalty. I don't know, but again, like if we don't win that game, it's not because we didn't get that penalty, because we had plenty of time to not concede goals, which we didn't, but also plenty of time to create more scoring opportunities, which we also didn't do. So it's never the ref's fault, but it can be irritating to watch a game of football and just have no idea what the decision is going to be. Even after you have a perfect idea of what happens, you still don't know what the decisions are going to be. And VAR has accentuated that because they keep showing it backwards and forwards. We're not allowed to move on. So we have, and that is not making football more enjoyable to watch.
No, I mean, on the lack of chances, 14 shots today, but only 6 of them inside the box, something like that. Just didn't create a lot of really good chances. United, it's normally, I think it's Spurs, we had 19 or something like that. It's normally United creating a lot of chances and being wasteful with it. I think that speaks a lot to just how tight Villa have become under Emery. They are a very well organised side. He's got players who weren't playing well, like Mings, playing well now, sort of had a revival, and Ollie Watkins scoring goals. Jacob Ramsey's been excellent. Probably get a call up to the England squad next time out. So he's not had to bother with Coutinho because I don't know, he's dead or something. Coutinho, I'm not sure what's happened to him. So.
He's just not a particularly good player. He never was. He was always he was capable of doing really good things. But as part of a cohesive team, he's sort of a poor man's Bruno, I would say. Coutinho. He's Bruno without the work ethic, at least like the engine, and without doing. He can't do all the other stuff Bruno does, but he can do. Yeah, he can make goals happen, but he doesn't do a whole lot else. And as I said last week, I think there's just that Steven thing, where Steven couldn't work out who to play, and he couldn't work out what formation to play them in. So. But now a manager has come in who has decided what he's going to do. And it took him a while, but he's sort of got results while he was doing it as well. He's got a team that he plays that know how to play. And there was always loads of good players in that squad. I mean, they spent an absolute load of money on that squad.
They really did, yeah. And they'll probably get rewarded with some form of European football. I mean, it might be the Conference League, could be the Europa with Spurs dropping like a stone. So, I mean... Good for Emery. He knows how to win that competition, I guess. I guess that's about it on Villa. And any other final thoughts? I mean, apart from important 3 points.
Yeah, it was a really good win, and just good for them to see that out. And I think, they should be all right for the top 4. But yeah, it's annoying that it isn't sorted yet, and just about preparing for the cup final. But at the same time, it's sort of good to have games that mean something, because that is good preparation for the cup final.
All right, the other big thing that happened today was a protest before the game. It was well planned, right in the midst of the takeover talk, 3rd round bids. I don't know when it became rounds of things in corporate M&A, but 3rd round bids were put in on Friday. There's a lot of conflicting reports, but if you read between them, there seems to be some agreement that the structure of the 2 main bids, the Ineos bid and the Qatari state bid, the Qataris looking to buy out the whole thing, and it looks like Ineos are looking for a majority but not full ownership.
I think it just depends what the Glazers will take in that aspect. I think that if they would sell everything to Ratcliffe, he might do it, but he probably thinks that keeping Dickhead on board to keep milking the club might be something that will get it across the line for him.
It appears to be a point of negotiation with them, which would say the other private equity-backed sort of structured equity, i.e. debt, bids are still in play too, because they would also give the Glazers or Joel and Avram a route to remaining part of the club. Why they'd want to, I don't know. Just take the money and run. I mean, it's what are they going to do? No party's going to come in unless it's basically effectively a debt-backed play from some private equities. No, like private bidder's going to come in and take a minority stake in the club, because they would have no say in how anything is run. And if you look at 18 years of Glazer ownership, you cannot say they run this club well. And it's certainly not financially the stock price propped up only by the bidding process right now. Otherwise, it'd be down at 12 again. So anyway, I guess that's where we are. It's kind of interesting. A lot of conjecture online. I mean, obviously, there's a few sort of now popular protest groups who've done very well to organise fans who've sort of had a say in this, but not really.
I mean, it's not always clear what we're protesting.
Well, we want the Glazers out, right? This is part of the bidding process. They're going to be
Except
out.
not.
So.
I mean, of course, I want them out of United, but I don't want them out of United at any costs. I don't want them out of United in order to swap them for state ownership.
Right.
And Ratcliffe with the Glazers still milking it a little bit because I guess they think that if someone else is going to come in and invest and they've got the right manager, then there's probably some money that they haven't yet had that they can have. So I think it would be about that. And even though their stewardship of the club has been horrendous, it's not totally beyond the realms that they fucking like having owner of Manchester United on their business card.
Well, I think that's probably more like it because they could go take their... What would they each make from a sale? 500 million each of the siblings who take away the debt and what they don't own already. So go off and take that, invest in something else. They'd make more money for sure. I mean, Ratcliffe has previously said that he would not be paying dividends. So they're not hanging around for dividends. 20% of like 20 million. Like, are they going to hang around for £4 million a year? You'd certainly get a lot more than that sticking your 500 million into any kind of fund. So it doesn't make any sense from a financial point of view. It's got to be about ego if they really want to stay on board. And then for what? Are we going to have Joel, like, as president emeritus, some kind of, like, honorary title? Maybe he wants a statue at the Stretford End.
Yeah. I'm sure there's ego involved, but I guess Ratcliffe with the Glazers still being involved is suboptimal. But for me personally, it is so many orders of magnitude better than Qatar that it will feel, because for me, like, once it's owned by a state, not that I think we're ever getting it back, but once we're owned by a state, then it literally exists to serve the interests of that state. Yeah. And if Ratcliffe is buying it for legacy, i.e. ego, then he's buying it to serve the interests of himself, but the interests of himself and United are more likely aligned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, I said something similar on Twitter the other day. The banners do say we want our club back, but it is not your club if it's owned by a state as a foreign policy tool. And you can still have the emotional attachment. I'm not telling anyone how they should support this club, but it's no longer a sporting institution in the way that it once was if it's used in that manner. It's not obvious that's going to happen in the way that
it's in
just
PR.
kind of
it's
assume.
a PR.
Yeah, the PR tool. It's a soft power play. I mean, I think we all assumed that at some point the Qataris would just go, well, money's meaningless, save for we need to give the impression that this is not a state bid, so we can't just come in and drop billions more than everyone else, even though clearly
and some helicopters.
Country, so yeah, right. So but I think we just assumed that even if they're playing this game to give some kind of plausible deniability and pretend that this guy is fronting it on his own, that they would come in just with piles more cash than anyone else, and that hasn't happened so far. Doesn't mean it won't, of course. It still may be part of some kind of galaxy braining going on here, but I was kind of surprised. I mean, it's definitely not a surprise that a minority bidder, like majority minority, like not full control with the Ineos bid, it's not surprised that they are valuing the club at a higher rate, because that is quite typical if you're buying only a portion of a company to add an additional premium as an incentive. So that's not a surprise. The surprise is the Qataris haven't gone, well, it's 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever, pick a number, because it's completely meaningless.
I guess also, when you're like people that property developers, when they buy properties, they don't want to be in an auction against people that want it to live in it, because the people that want it to live in it will always go a bit further because there's an emotional attachment. They want it for a home. They don't want it just in order to be able to convert it into money. And perhaps that's it with Radcliffe as well, because whilst I don't think he's a good guy particularly, the end game is just owning United. That's it. Like, he wants to own United, to feel good about himself, to feel like he saved United, and that's the end game for him.
Mm-hmm.
It's not beyond that. So he maybe is prepared to put more into it and give up more than Qatar are, because for Qatar it's in order to then it's in order to achieve connections, cachet, weight for Qatar or whatever.
Yeah.
And United aren't the only forum for doing that. Whereas for Jim Ratcliffe, I mean, obviously he's owned other football clubs, trying to buy Chelsea, but United is the only way you can own United is by owning United.
Yeah.
And so he's sort of more like that end user, which is like, I don't know if that's a torch analogy or not even a particularly revealing analogy that I just spent 5 minutes pontificating about. But it's that because he's an end user, he's probably prepared to give up a little bit more, because Qatar's aim ultimately is not ownership of Manchester United, it's ownership of Manchester United in order to. And Ratcliffe's in order to is ownership of United.
It's legacy.
In order to own United.
That's right. And I again, just speculating here, but it seems that there's more emotional bidding from Ratcliffe than I thought would have been typical of him, because was known from his private equity days and through all the acquisitions they made as Ineos as a value investor, right? Not paying a penny more than he thought a company was worth, but clearly already quite a lot of pennies more than United are worth as any kind of nominal enterprise value. So it's clearly emotional with him. And for the Qataris, well, yeah, instead of spending $6 billion on United, they could spend $6 billion buying up all sorts of other sports if sport is their route into the kind of soft power that they want. Obviously, the Premier League is extremely effective, but they could go off and buy a golf tour or Formula One or an IPL franchise or whatever, right? There are similar routes to having that kind of global connections.
There's no love there. Whereas Jim Ratcliffe feels that emotional connection to United, whereas for them, it's the emotional connection to Qatar that makes United the useful thing for them.
That's right.
I mean, I'm sure Sheikh Yassin is a big red, really.
Does he even exist?
I'm a Stretford ender.
We've never seen him, apart from the two headshot photos that have been released.
It's like, do you know what that reminds me of? It's like in season 1 of The Wire, when Leicester is trying to find Avon Barksdale, and he eventually finds him on a Golden Gloves poster.
Right,
some kind of boxing post of when Avon was younger. Yeah, and Leicester finds him. But yeah, it's a bit like that. It's just the whole thing is obviously a total nonsense. But the performance of the charade is just one of the everyone knows what it is. But I have been sort of in my mind trying to turn over what I do if Qatar bought United, because it just is. And I know I said a few weeks ago that I was told that Elliott thought they were going to do the deal.
Yep.
I've actually subsequently heard that the Glazers just aren't going to sell. And I'm not repeating that because it's some nonsense that I heard. I'm repeating it because if I could tell you where it comes from, you would say, I can understand why you're repeating that. I can't. But the Glazers just weren't going to sell. But perhaps Ratcliffe is that bridge that might encourage them to sell, because, they can keep selling. And as we said, that still have whatever it is United is giving them to some extent. But I have been bracing myself for the worst to happen for me being Qatar. And I don't know. I mean, I don't want to engage too much with Ratcliffe, because I don't think that Ratcliffe is great at all, but it's a lot better because it doesn't feel like the end for me. Personally.
I think that's right. I mean, I think many people who are willing to push back against state ownership ask themselves the same question, right? What does it mean to be a fan of a state club when you know that you are the useful idiot, weaponized by the state for the purposes of the state, right? You look at what has happened to City and Newcastle, and I couldn't behave like that. I also have some kind of platform to get that message, or we have this platform to get that message out, as small as it is in terms of, global scale of the billion-odd United fans that are out there and all the noise that's on the internet. So,
didn't we get 2 billion downloads last week?
Yeah, 2 billion. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. That's that. Like, if you don't have 1.1 billion fans, we can have 2 billion downloads, no problem.
All
any sponsors who would like to reach 2 billion people? Yeah, that's it. All right. I guess that's it. We may get a preferred bidder next week, and things may well accelerate from there. Although the due diligence process will take a while longer, I imagine. So it is going to butt up against planning for the summer, even if we got a bid accepted next week. There's a game on Thursday, and Brighton away.
There always is. We get knocked out of the Europa.
And we're still on fucking Thursdays.
Games on fucking Thursdays.
Somebody is taking the piss somewhere. I don't know why we're playing on Thursday. It's not even the last Thursday game of the season because we've got a game against Chelsea on a Thursday as well.
Chelsea on Thursday, which is annoying because it's also a Jewish holiday. And two of my best mates who married each other, which when that happens is actually incredible because you have no control, obviously, over who your mates might bring home. So when they marry other mates, that I have found makes life just like two of my best friends married each other, and that makes life quite a lot better. And one of them, they have a son, it's his bar mitzvah next month, and he's a United fan, so he wants me to take him to a game. And I had earmarked Chelsea, and I had earmarked the semi-final of the Europa League. And there isn't the semi-final of the Europa League, so he's not going that. And Chelsea is on a Jewish holiday now, so I'm personally irate about this. But yeah, the Thursday games, I'm sulking also because I don't currently have a Brighton ticket. But that's a difficult game, and that they put in quite. They play Wolves obviously, and made loads of changes and battered them. And Wolves have been better recently.
Yeah, Brighton have been a little bit inconsistent. I mean, obviously we squeaked past them, but they lost last week, the week before. But yeah, completely destroyed Wolves.
Would you pick Danny Welbeck in this United team? Do you think he would get into this United team? I think he might.
I mean, that's the thing of Danny Welbeck is I always liked his sort of movement and his touch, his great first touch, and his sort of general intelligence on the football pitch. I didn't like the fact that he couldn't finish, really, except for
but he's
a few excellent strikes now and again, and he was never bloody fit.
But he's never fit. That's true. But obviously, I would not prefer him if he was not fit. But he, like the things that you said, actually, are not that dissimilar to Wout Weghorst, and he is a miles better version of Wout Weghorst.
Oh God,
yeah. Weghorst is.
No, true. Although I'm not sure that I've forgiven Danny Welbeck for celebrating like a madman when he scored for Arsenal against us.
Well, it wasn't exactly like a madman, but he did celebrate the goal. But I think that's what's meant to happen when Mark Hughes comes back to Old Trafford for the first time, and that's someone who had played at United since he was a kid. 2 spells at United, won all sorts. He scores for Chelsea in that 2-2 draw. There's a fight in the tunnel, and Ole scores a brilliant equaliser at the end. And he's calling his new teammates over, like beckoning them over to the corner. He runs to the corner, and like the northeast quadrant there. And I don't really object to that. You don't play for us anymore. But yeah, I don't bear Welbeck ill will for that particularly. Bearing more ill will for missing that chip against Bayern Munich.
Yeah, I fully don't agree with players not celebrating. You're playing for a different club. Selby it with your fans now. I think he gave it just a little bit extra, which seemed... Anyway, whatever.
Mark Selby's just made the 147 in the snooker final. I love Mark Selby.
I don't really follow snooker, particularly.
So Mark Selby is one of the greatest competitors in all sport who has... he has the attacking game, but also just probably the best tactical game. Amazing under pressure. And I also feel like I've got a special relationship with him because he was the first time I think I saw anyone beat Ronnie O'Sullivan in a match that really matters. When Ronnie played really well was in the 2013 final when Selby came from miles behind to beat him. And while that was going on, Christian Ball was happening at the same time. And that was just a great, tremendous evening's entertainment. And so, even though I wanted Ronnie to beat Selby, Selby and doing that whilst Liverpool drew with City and with the Palace and what's his name and Suarez cried. I'll always have that special affinity for Mark Selby. But also, he's been really struggling with mental health issues. So to see him getting a standing ovation and smiling his arse off is gladdening my heart right now.
Very good.
Well done, Mark Selby.
Yeah, Thursday. Probably more of the same from United. It's not like they created a lot against us in the semi-final, is it? The tactics were about right. And Ten Hag swapped it up a little bit today. United went quite direct at times, try and bypass the Villa midfield. That might also work against Brighton because they had 60% possession in that semi-final. They do keep the ball a lot,
but it's also because of where they keep the ball, and you know that like they try and keep the ball with the goalkeeper, the back four, because they're trying to bait you in and then press it and then move into the space. Yeah. So there'll be those phases of the game where you're trying not to get baited, where they're just passing it backwards and forwards. So they don't get loads of threatening possession, but they're a team with good players where everyone knows what they're doing and they're executing a plan and they're doing a good job of it.
Yeah, no, that's right. The average possessions in the high 50s with Brighton, but the field tilt or their share of possession in dangerous areas is much lower. That's very true. So, I mean, I have no reason to suspect this is anything other than a very tight game that will come down to details. Would you take a draw now?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't take a draw, but if we ended up with a draw, that would be acceptable. Do you remember that end of season game at Brighton that we lost? I think it was maybe the season that they came up. What's his name? Glenn Murray score, maybe.
Right. Well, it was
Mourinho.
Lost 3-0, something like that, wasn't it?
Mourinho played Rashford and Martial together, having something that he never did. And then they didn't play well. United got beat, and Mourinho was like, see, I fucking told you they were shits, basically. And that was just one of those times where it's just, this is really going to go very wrong quite soon from here. And then I think it was the beginning of the next season we played them again. And that was the first time people wanted him to play Lindelof and Bailly together. And he did, and it was a total disaster. And I was in the press box for that game, so I ended up going to the press conference afterwards. And just actually felt quite sad. Mourinho was just so deflated, this man who was just like so full of power and arrogance and ego and bristle and bronca and injustice and all this shit, all the good stuff. And he was just so sad and weak. It was actually quite depressing.
Roma dropped out of the Champions League places in Serie A. It's very tight, but there's no guarantee they're going to make it. What a shame that would be for Mourinho if he didn't.
I don't bear Mourinho ill will, although he did obviously do his best to act terribly at the end so that he could get his payoff, presumably. But I mean, it always feels like that. It always feels like that with him.
Doesn't it?
But there was some time. There was a few fun times with him, I guess. But he was obviously the wrong man at the wrong time. But in some ways, I don't object to the fact that we tried to see if we could make it work with him, but he was too far gone for United to rescue him from himself.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, to bring it full circle back to the takeover chat, like whoever ends up in charge here, Ten Hag needs the right kind of backing. I mean, he is clearly the best part or best hope for United's revival. And I know that he is much in demand. So, yeah, they've got to get this right and soon. Otherwise, he's going to have plenty of other options.
Yeah, it feels like if we could stretch to, say, 2 or 3 players for him, and then you should be... I mean, we say this every summer, but it does feel like this summer we should be able to at least sell to the value of one player. If you sell Maguire and McTominay, then you should get a player out of that.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that I even particularly want us to sell McTominay, but someone is going to have to leave in the midfield.
Yeah.
And it feels like the most likely person to leave is him. But just him, even if it's Fred and Maguire, him and Maguire, you sell one of those and Maguire, you should get 50 million quid.
Yeah, and it may well be sell to buy, not just for FFP purposes, although United aren't right at the limit, but because if the takeover is still dragging on by the time it comes around to June, and there's definitely scenarios, who's going to sanction the spending? Exactly. So,
well, I guess you might have a situation where if it hasn't been sold by then, that both Ratcliffe and Qatar say we will bankroll the transfers this summer.
Yeah, if they look like they're likely to close the deal.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
I guess that's it this weekend. Backers, we're going to talk about the the women's team, who could well do the double.
Please.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.